Welcome to episode 31 of the Horsemanship Breakthroughs Podcast, Balancing Life, Achieving Horse Goals as a Mum, and Believing in Yourself with Meg Mortimer. Meg Mortimer describes herself as a mum who never grew out of the horse phase. I'm sure many of us can relate to that. She lives in central New South Wales, Australia, on a sheep farm with her husband and 3 kids. Meg has loved horses all her life, dabbling in pony club as a kid and progressing to competing in dressage, showjumping and eventing in her 20s. Meg describes herself at that time as being fearless, and that meant she could have a lot of fun. But in her 30s, she got married and had babies and suddenly was not so fearless anymore. Meg is now in her 40s and has learnt to be patient, to take things slow and improve her communication with her horse. She feels at ease with herself, knowing she doesn't need to compete to prove she is a capable horse person. Meg describes her philosophy with horses as always being kind, slowing down, and listening to your horse. Meg says she also loves the intention of balance, as this is not only important for her horses, but her family and life in general. Meg loves learning, and whilst her life is sometimes crazy chaos, she loves the ride. I came across Meg when she signed up to my Horsemanship Fundamentals Academy, and I began teaching Meg through Pivo lessons, which has been a lot of fun. In this episode, we talk about Meg's horsemanship journey and how she overcomes the challenges of balancing life and work whilst pursuing her horse goals in a way that is true to her values around training horses. You will love Meg's contagious positive energy and the lessons she shares around her horses, Galley, Patch, and Mr. Jones. If you're a mum and a rider with goals, you will be inspired by Meg's story. Welcome to the Horsemanship Breakthroughs Podcast, a source for riding and training insights with the goal of helping your horse be a light, happy, and willing partner. I'm your host, Amalia Dempsey, a mainstream equestrian rider who discovered natural horsemanship and equine learning theory, and now I help riders like you achieve connection and communication with your horse so you can have more fun and fulfillment whilst prioritizing the partnership. Get more learning resources, including my free connection and communication mini course at amaliadempsey.com. Click the follow button so you don't miss an episode, and if you're enjoying the podcast, please leave me a rating and review or screenshot this episode and share on social media. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome, Meg Mortimer, to the Horsemanship Breakthroughs Podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't even believe I'm on a podcast.
It's so cool. Hey, and I don't know if you're anything like me, but when I'm listening to podcasts, could be horse related or anything related, and I'm thinking about the questions and what I would answer myself. So it's kind of nice to be able to have the opportunity to actually answer what you would want to say in response to these questions, because I'm sure you've listened to some of the podcast episodes.
That's exactly right. I've listened to every single podcast. I know all the questions.
Yeah.
I've been kind of busting to answer them, so it's going to be fun.
I'm really looking forward to it. So should we dive in? I mean, I already know a bit about you because I've coached you, but can you tell us about your horsemanship journey to date? What got you into horses and what has led to where you are today?
Sure. So I had a pony called Coz when I was young, and he lived on my grandparents' farm. And eventually we moved to the farm when Dad took over the farm. And Coz and we didn't really go, because I didn't live close to the farm, I didn't go to pony club. I went a few times. But mostly I just rounded up sheep with her. I taught myself. I would go to riding camps sometimes, but mostly we just rounded up sheep. Rode around. I'd plat her up because I was desperate to go to a show, but she really wasn't. Like, looking back, I know why Dad didn't let me go to a show, but she wasn't. She was old and grumpy, and but she was my beautiful dapple grey, who I just thought was the best thing in the world. We jumped cattle grids, which I would never let my daughter do now. And we just rode everywhere. I remember I had this velvet helmet, and it wasn't safe at all. Probably would fall off if I fell off, but we were fine. We galloped everywhere. It was great. So I had her up until I was about 17, and then got busy with school, and I went away and moved to the city and got a job, and desperate, wanted to be this city girl. And then I went overseas and taught horse riding in a summer camp. And I ended up doing that for 4 summers. And my love for horses was stronger than ever. And it was time to stop traveling and come home. And because I missed my family, and, it was time to be back in Australia. So I bought a horse. I got a job and I bought a horse, and her name was Ruby, an off the track thoroughbred. And she was beautiful. She was a chestnut mare, and I loved her so much. And I kept her at Centennial Stables right in Sydney. I didn't have a car. It was probably not a great the best financial decision I ever made to keep a horse in the city, but I loved it. And I would catch 2 buses every morning. I'd get up at 5, catch 2 buses to the stables, ride or just walk her or hang out with her, then go to work, catch another 2 buses to work, and then catch 2 buses back in the afternoon, do the same thing, and then catch 2 buses home, and usually get home by about 9:30. So that was my life, and I just loved it. But I knew it wasn't for me, because all I was doing at work, I was working for a barrister as a personal assistant. And if he wasn't around me all the time, I'd just be Googling horse properties. And I thought, I've got to get out of this city. Like, what am I doing? So I moved back to Orange, and I got a great job for a council, and the horses came. Well, at that stage I was accumulating horses, so I bought them back, and then just started, just plodding around, and I'd go on little competitions and things like that. I loved eventing and just pottering around, but I was really falling in love with natural horsemanship, and I was having lessons, but the teachers were great, but I just knew it wasn't me riding around in circles and trying to get them on the bit and sit forward, leg on, leg off, inside leg, outside. And I was like, oh, this is like a weird thing. And I just didn't love it. And I thought, I don't think my horses love it either. So I was always looking to do natural horsemanship as well. But then, I was writing bits and pieces, working. And then I met the man of my dreams, a farmer, and married him, and we had babies. And you know what it's like. Well, I've had 3 babies, and horses weren't the high priority in my life, although they're right in the paddock next to our house. And baby, I was knee deep in children, and my confidence was going down and down and down. And then when I did have time to go to the horses, I think, what am I going to do? And was stuck. And then I was losing more and more confidence. And eventually I got on my horse and he wouldn't move. I'm like, well, this is no fun. And I thought, what's happened? And I just thought, that's when I needed help.
Yeah. And then what happened?
Well, I muddled around for another couple of years, and then I came across Amalia Dempsey. and then my life changed. I knew I always had it. So I wasn't a very competitive person, and I just loved hanging out with my horses. I'm that the girl that just loves horses so much, and everyone thought I'd grow out of it. And now that I'm in my 40s, it's worse than ever, the horse phase. So I just knew I needed to do more with my horses and be with them, and it was for my own sanity as well. So now I have horses. Gallimimus is probably my main guy, and he's an off the track thoroughbred. And I bought a new horse called Patchy, and I'm falling in love with him more and more every day. And then I've got my old horse. So it was my old horse, Mr. Jones, who kind of knocked my confidence a bit. He used to just do this little buck when I'd get on. It wasn't bad, but as a mother, my nerves were getting more and more rattled with him, and to the point where I just didn't want to ride him anymore, because I was if I get injured, our farm, my husband's so busy on the farm and the children need looking after. We live 100 kilometers from the nearest town. It's just not convenient if I get sick or injured, and I stopped riding him. But but the same pattern was happening. Gallimimus wasn't going anywhere, and I think my heart was beating at 150 beats per minute, I think, every time I get on, and the whole thing was playing out in my head. And Gallimimus has never put a foot wrong or bucked or bolted or done anything, but all of a sudden I had this in my head that was going to happen. I'm like, what are you thinking? It's fine. But I couldn't get it out of my head, just because of my nerves, and I really had to get confidence back.
Yeah. And just listening to you talk about your story there, Meg, it's funny because my goal isn't really specifically to help people with their confidence, but indirectly we kind of did that for you. So how do you think HFA, Horsemanship Fundamentals Academy, or the PIVO lessons that we had together, how do you think that actually helped your confidence without us kind of diving into your mindset, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, we didn't even talk about that, but I think you believed in me and you kept saying your breakthrough is about to happen. It's about to happen. And I thought, because I was trying so hard, and I just needed that reassurance, I think. And you were so positive, and you believed in me and knew I could do it. And then all of a sudden I was doing things. I'm like, oh, I can do this. And then that helped my confidence grow more and more. Yeah, you're right. We didn't talk about why I was scared. We just got on with it. And my horse, and you could see my horses were good horses.
Yeah.
We just had to get past. We were probably stuck too. And in my head, I thought, well, you've got, there's rule books. You have to step one, do this, step two, this. But it's a horse and I'm a human. And sometimes we skip steps or we go back to steps. But I felt like until I perfected the perfect circle, I couldn't go any further. But I can, we'll go back to that later. And I think you really taught me also to really slow down. I knew I'd have an hour with the horses. I'm like, right, I want to jump, I want to do poles, I want to walk sideways, I want to do groundwork, and I want to go trail riding. And there was just never enough time. And then I'd get muddled and sit on my horse. I'm like, I will just walk around and really not achieve anything. So I think with you giving me a clear goal, and not worrying about the steps so much, if you miss a little bit here, you'll gain it there, and there's no rules really. And I'm a bit of a rule follower, and when you realize there's no rules, as long as you follow your own philosophy and believe in yourself, I think everything will work out.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And I think what I saw when I first started coaching you, I saw a very capable horsewoman, but someone who just didn't have direction and didn't really believe that she could do it. So I think when you said we just got on with it, it's not like I said, oh, you're scared, Meg, just hop on anyway. No, we did go through a process, but we were happy to kind of bend the rules and do what we needed to do for you both to feel comfortable and to, most importantly, progress.
Yeah. Yes. And we have progressed so much, it's amazing. I can't even believe what I'm doing now. I messaged you and said, oh, I had my first ride of the year. I just grabbed the halter and jumped on bareback, and you laughed and said, oh, just nonchalantly going out and just jumping on bareback. And that the old Meg Mortimer would never have done that, or she would have just stayed right close to the fence just in case. So and now we just walk around, and he seems to like it more, which I found quite interesting. When I was brave and I took the bridle off, and I even just rode him in a saddle and a halter, he liked it so much more than and I still notice that now. I put the bridle on last week, and we've been riding around and trotting, and then I took the bridle off and just rode him in the halter, and he's like, oh, that's better. So
there you go.
It's funny. Yeah. I like that about him too. And that's what else I have learned along the way, to listen to them, and you really do. If you stop and you look at them and you see their movements or their ears or something, you listen and you're like, oh. So the other day he didn't want the saddle pad on for some reason. I'm like, what's going on here? So we played a bit with the saddle pad, and then I let him he put it in his mouth and he shook it around in his head, and he had a bit of a play with it and a smell, and then I put it back on and he was fine. So he just needed to have a look, I think, and it's just seeing what they need, I think, as well.
Yeah, and who knows what he would have done if you just ignored that and was like, I'm putting a saddle pad on anyway, it doesn't matter. I think that's where people run into troubles, because they're not really feeling and listening to the way or to what their horse might be trying to communicate.
Yeah, and you taught me also, I look for when they need a scratch, and especially at the moment when there's lots of flies and bugs and they bite their shoulder or something, and so I just give it a good scratch, and they're like, oh, thanks.
And it's just one of the most basic ways we can show our horses that we're actually listening to what they're saying, or who knows if they're consciously trying to tell us, but I don't want to take that risk. Like, I want to show them, I noticed that. I noticed you're itchy there, or I noticed you're not okay with the saddle pad. So I love that you've taken that on board, Meg.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of body language, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. And one of the things I like to do is kind of get people to own their own style of training horses, because I don't want people to be like a cut out cardboard version of me, or I don't really believe in cookie cutter approaches. We have to be adaptable. So I'd love to hear from you. How would you summarize your own training approach or philosophy with horses?
Oh, we're very relaxed at my yard. Everybody, and none of my horses, so that's the nice thing. My horses are very relaxed, and I think it's because I'm pretty relaxed with them. And our routine's not so, strict. I don't feed them every time at the same day because I'm busy with children or something, something's always on. And they're pretty adaptable like that. As long as they see me, they're happy. And I think I just want to be kind to them. I don't believe in smacking them or being rude. I feel like if I give them respect, they give my respect, and I give me respect. And I've definitely seen that with Patchy, my new horse. And he came from a sheep station, and he lived in a 20,000 acre paddock, and he was rounded up, brought in, and put a saddle on, rounded up sheep for days, and then thrown back out into the paddock. And he's never been a pet. He's actually was truly a workhorse. And so he's come to my house, and he's got to learn how to eat treats out of a hand, which he'd never done. So I'd just hold treats there, and then I'd have Gally with me. And so I'd give him a treat. And I was like, Patchy looked at him and like, oh, is that what you do? And so we give him, and now he's learned how to eat treats, but he won't eat a carrot. I think he's a true bushy. He won't eat vegetables. He's a meat and potatoes guy, I think. Yeah. So, or a grain and molasses guy.
Yeah.
But but now the way I got told, you'll never catch him in the paddock, and you got to be careful when you mount him and do all these things. And he will walk up to me in the paddock now, and then I don't even need to catch him because he follows me back to the yard. And I've taught him, like, now we work together, and he'll walk up to my tire where I hop on, and he'll just casually stand there now, and he's not stressed about it. And it's not because I am this wonderful horse rider. It's just because I think I'm kind, and I give him time to think about things, and I talk to him, and I talk to them like they're humans. Oh, hello, how was everyone's night? If anyone saw me, they'd think I'm a nutty lady. But oh, what you got there? You got birds all over you. Let's give you a brush. I just talk to them like they're my children, really. And I think that's my philosophy, just to be calm and confident, and work together as a team. It's no one's the boss of each other. We've got to look after each other. And I do think my horses get that. Even the little Shetland ponies, they're sweet and they're kind, and it's because we treat them as part of the family, I think.
Yeah, and they can definitely feel that energy. Like, we know, or at least we think, horses can't understand our words, but I think humans are very good at portraying their energy and their intention through their words, and then the body follows suit. So, hey, I'm talking to my horses all the time as well. I think it's really helpful.
Yeah. Well, when you film yourself riding, and all I can hear is me talking. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, I'm the same. And I even do it in public, like at shows, and then halfway through I realize I'm doing it, and I'm like, oh, I should probably just be careful about what I'm saying.
I know.
Oh dear. Anyway, what would you say has been your happiest horsey memory?
Oh, as much as the stables in Sydney cost me a lot of money, more than my rent, and that's why I couldn't afford a car. I loved having Ruby there, but I knew she wasn't happy she didn't like being in a stable all day, and I didn't like it either. But what we would do on most weekends is go away, and we would go down to Berry to an adult riding camp, and it was 2 nights and 3 days, and we would ride. We do show jumping and flat work, and then we go and do cross country jumps or trail ride, and you go out to dinner, and it was all like-minded people, and it was such a fun time. I'd have to have a truck down because I didn't have a car, and I'd have to get lifts down, but I really wanted to do it, and I made it work. So I loved that time. But just recently I've really enjoyed trail riding, and we've got some beautiful trails where we live. My friends and I went up a mountain called Looney's Hill, and it was beautiful, and it was challenging, and basically you just let the horses have their head, and I rode Gally up there, and it was just beautiful by the time we got up there. And we had a cuppa up there and a sandwich, and overlooked all of the district you could see, and then we rode down, and the horses loved it. And then we took them for a swim in the dam, and the horses just loved it. So every time I'm with the horses, it's a great memory for me. I appreciate being with them every day. I give them big hugs every day. I hope they know that.
Yeah, amazing. And I love that, like always having happy moments with the horses, no matter, if it's just a quiet moment or if it's riding at an amazing facility in, where was it? Sydney?
Centennial Park. Oh, it was an amazing facility. Two indoor arenas and a round yard that was indoor and beautiful stables. And yeah. I lived on 2-minute noodles.
Yeah. Hey, we make sacrifices for the horses. We do what we need to do.
But I think that's what horses have got, that ability to make you feel good. So I just know every time that I walk away from my horses, I've got a beat in my step, and I feel refreshed, and I can actually do the rest of my jobs for the day and go ahead and be a mum. And I think it makes me a better person by being with my horses, and a better mum. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it sort of energizes you so you can do all of your other tasks to the best of your ability. And speaking of being a mum, I'm sure a lot of people are mums that are listening, and they're like thinking, I don't know how to balance my horse time with being a mum and my work and everything else. What advice would you have for people in that situation?
Oh, I love the word balance. It's actually I've made it, instead of making a New Year's resolution this year, I made a word. And because, I'm never going to be fit and run an ultra marathon, but I'd like to, but never. But my word is balance this year. And I want that even balance of horses and home life. And then I've got kids' education, working. I just got elected as councillor on our local council. So now I've got a job. Well, I've got a job at home because running the farm. Yeah. But now I'm a councillor at our local council. So time management is really important. So, and I need my horse time. But my best advice is, I feel I have to be organised at home. I need to either go really early before everybody wakes up and needs my attention, or I sneak off through the day when, especially during the holidays, when they've been busy, but making sure they're fed and they've got entertainment, and then I go. And they know where to find me, or they'll come with me, but they're getting older now, so they're happy to stay at home. Annabelle, my daughter, will come with me and ride her pony. But it's just about, sometimes I can't spend as much time at the horses as I need to, because I know I need to get home. But if I can find a little bit of horse time and a little bit of kid time, do some book work, make phone calls, and get that balance, and do the washing, and it's just prioritizing what you want to do first, I think. And that's how I try and manage it. I did, when the kids were really little and I had 3 horses, I could rug 3 horses in one episode of Peppa Pig. That was my record. So they would sit in the car watching Peppa Pig while I put the rugs on and quickly put feet out, and I was quick. I don't think I could do that now.
I love that you know that. Like, I don't even know how long a Peppa Pig episode is, but
7 minutes.
Oh my goodness. And with the whole, I know you struggled with wearing all of those different hats and then getting out to the horses and being like, I actually don't know what to do, even though there's all of these things that I do want to do.
Yeah.
How specifically did you overcome that?
So I would look at my HFA app and then work out, right, I think we want to do circles today. And then in my head, and then I'd never have a strict plan, but I knew let's just work on circles, because I really want Galley to canter really freely. And I haven't cantered on him for a long time, and we're working on that. That's just and there's nothing stopping me except my brain, but we're working on that. So I think, right, we'll work on circles. So then the circles will be going great. I'm like, oh, well maybe I'll put the saddle on, and then the saddle goes on, and then we'll do more circles, and then we'll go for a walk. So, it might, and a trail ride around the paddock or something like that, and then come back. So now I've got a great idea of what I've got to do just by looking at the app, and then I can expand on that in my own way. And with Patchy, I'm trying to, I want him to side pass to the fence so I can get on. And we're working on that, and he's getting it, and he thinks he's really clever, and I think he's so clever. And so now, working on that, but then I can see he's the horse that I realize can't do it over and over again. He might want to do it 3 times and then I have to change and do something different. So yeah, we might go for a bit of a walk then together and then come back and try it again. So he's different. Whereas Gally will happily do it for a while. He's so patient with me. Yeah, what do you want to do now? Yeah, all right, I'll do it again.
He is a legend, of course.
Yeah, he is. So and
you go.
Yeah, so it's just, I do now have a clear, but I think it's because I've got the app and I know where I want to go with that, And the other thing I did was print out all those printouts you do. And I had them pinned onto my arena, but they got wet. So now I just put up what I want to do at the time. Yeah. And another thing, I was going to take a picture of it and I haven't done it yet because I forget, but I've got Isabel Worth sitting up there next to the diagrams. Because I can ride well in front of Isabel.
Yes, I love that. And for those listening, I gave Meg a pivo lesson, and I think we're working on a bit of your posture that day in the saddle as well. Yeah. And I think it's really valuable to imagine a rider that you either look up to or have a lot of respect for, or who rides really well, and imagine them sitting in the corner, because for some reason with this extra kind of expectation from someone who's really accomplished, we're like, oh, I better sit up taller, I better make sure my posture's good in the saddle. So a little tip for people listening, when you're in the arena yourself, you can imagine you're kind of idle in the corner.
Oh yeah, and mine's an A4 picture and it's just her head smiling at me.
Can you imagine if she found out?
Oh, it would be awesome. I'd love her to come to the farm.
Oh, hilarious. So just to kind of summarize that though, you overcame this not knowing what to do within a session by having a framework, but an adaptable framework that you could kind of adapt to your individual horses, but knowing that you had an idea of what it was you wanted to accomplish and that you could do it.
That's right. Yeah.
The name of the podcast is Horsemanship Breakthroughs. And I like to know from people what is their, I'm big on breakthroughs, biggest horsemanship breakthrough to date.
That would be when you told me if I slowed down, things would speed up. And it was so true. Because I was going up to the horses going, right, we're going to do this, I may as well learn French while I do it as well. I wanted to do so much. But I had to slow it down and break everything down. And as soon as I started slowing down, it just happened so quickly, didn't it? The next week I'd see you and I'm like, look at this.
Yes, I know. It was amazing.
Yeah. And I think that's the best advice I can give to anybody. And I say it to my kids now, even with my son who's playing cricket. He was rushing and I said, just slow everything down and be precise. And, he's trying to bowl fast. And then, so now I'm using that same thing with my children and my husband. So I slowed everything down for Gally, who definitely needed to be slowed down because he was getting muddled and he tries so hard. I'll be like, well, let's walk sideways, and then he'd be like, okay, and then he wants to keep doing. He wants to try and please me all the time.
Yeah.
So he tries and guess. He's an overachiever.
Yeah.
He's trying to guess everything, second guess me. So me slowing down and just taking a step back and letting him think through. And then especially Patchy as well. And you were great with Patchy when I had a lesson with you. And I just went to walk off and Patchy stood still and you said, no, I think you need to wait 5 seconds and then slowly run the rope through your hand and walk off slowly. And as soon as I did that, Patchy was like, oh yeah, I'm coming. And and now he just follows me around and I hardly have the rope, like the halter on him. I've been doing a lot of everything. So he has that ability if he wants to get away. He's nervous about his feet being picked up and things. And I do it all without anything on him. And if he wants to walk away, he can, but he doesn't. He'll throw his foot down, but then he'll pick it up again. So we're at the point now I say, Patchy foot, and he'll lift up his foot. So he's getting better.
That is amazing. And to think that he came from somewhere where he was really just a workhorse and had issues with mounting and didn't want to be caught, and now he's just loving life with you. And I had every confidence that you'd be able to do that. And I love the connection that you made between like parenting and horsemanship through the whole slowing down to speed up, because I think it applies to so many areas of our life. Like, I'm not perfect and I'll try and rush things and multitask too much, and then I have to take my own advice and practice what I preach and go, no, slow down, break things down one step at a time, and then suddenly things fall into place. It's something that I carry all the time as well.
No, and I've definitely seen that help with my children as well, and even schoolwork when things are getting, especially, homeschooling and things like that. It's been a very good lesson for everybody to do that.
Yeah, and often I'll use maths analogies as well. I'm big on my analogies. But applying that slowing down to speed up analogy or concept to maths, it would be like having this long maths equation or problem rather, and then having to sort out that problem all at once, rather than going, okay, step 1, complete that. Step 2. So, but if you tried to do all of it at once, you would never get to the answer. But if you just chip away at it, then you'll get to the answer. And if you don't, there's probably one of those steps that you've missed. So
exactly,
that just popped in my mind, so I thought I would share. And so you've probably heard lots of people on the podcast talk about their idea in terms of what they think makes a happy horse. I'd love to hear from you, and with your own experience, what you think has made your horses so happy.
Well, I definitely, and I know, I just feel like for a fact, I know that freedom is a big one, because when Ruby was in the stables, she had a very big sarcoid on her cheek, and I got vets to look at it, and they said, we could operate and we could do this and we could do that, and it wasn't worth doing. And it was eventually getting really gross, and you could tell, I thought, is this stress? So when I moved her to the country, the sarcoid disappeared. There was not one bit of it, and it was huge. It was all on her cheek.
Wow.
Huge. And I think she did not like being in a stable one bit, and that life, and I feel bad that I had her in that position, but that's the life she had lived. She was a racehorse, and then that she hated it. And as soon as she got freedom and friends and forage, she was happy. But the other thing with my horses, they need attention. So I've had a really busy week this week. I've been out with kids sport Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all day yesterday, and then today I'm out with sport again. And I fed them this morning, and they're just staring at me. They weren't eating, they were staring at me. I'm like, I know, you need attention. You need to. And even yesterday afternoon, as I'm jumping in the car because I was going to a meeting late last night, and they were standing at the fence near the house just staring at me. I said, I'm sorry. So I just think that makes a happy horse, them being part of the family, and feeling that they're special. I probably sound like a crazy lady, but I really I do believe that. I think they're misunderstood, and they're not just a machine or a motorbike. They've got a heart and feeling, they're not out to hurt you. No. They want attention and love.
And I don't think you're sounding like a crazy person, because most people listening to this podcast hopefully are voice people and can totally relate. But I noticed that with my own horses as well. I think they really do like this interaction with us, especially the way we set things up and have it so that it benefits them, and they get rewards, and it's stimulating for them in the training. That's something I'm all about as well. And I think it's a bit of a red flag when people say things like, I have to hide my halter behind my back to catch my horse and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's information, maybe they're not enjoying what's happening in the training.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And who would be your most influential mentors with horses?
Well, you as number one, top of the list. And I knew we would get on well. So I started my little Instagram account only for the fact I thought this is just going to be my personal diary before I met you, of how I love taking photos, and especially of horses. And I I wanted to just document every time I rode or did something with my horses. And I thought, this is just going to be my account. I'm the only one that has it. And then now I'm letting more and more people in because I was, unsure about myself. And so I thought it was just my diary. And then I found you and I saw a horse that you had and saw a video of you that you put on your page, and your horse was side passing to the mounting block for you. And I thought, that is what I want to do. So I just kept following what you were doing. And then you put a post out saying, I can do lessons. And I say, oh, I'm up to this. So I messaged you and I said, could I have an online lesson? But I think it was just going to be a video and you were just going to look at the video and then give me feedback, which I do like that sort of thing. But the moment's gone almost too. Yeah. And it was great. But then we did I started HFA, which I was hesitant to do because I have done other courses in the past and I haven't committed to them very well. But, I did a dressage one and they were saying, and you've got to do a 20-minute warm up and then you start just by extending the trot. And I thought, holy moly, I can't do 20 minutes. I haven't got 20 minutes for a warm up. And I thought, this is not for me. And it was really expensive. So I dropped out of that. So I was hesitant because I'm like, oh, you're not going to do it. But I did. And you were so encouraging. And I got through the course. And then we were right at the end of the course. And I needed that reassurance. And I said, is there any chance we could have a Pivo lesson? And I had seen it happen before. And we jumped straight into it, didn't we? And it worked and you could see me and it was live. And it's what worked for me best, for you to be able to see me. And we live 2 states away from each other.
Yeah. I know you and your horses so well though. Like it feels like I met you in person.
I know. It's exactly like that. And we're even on the different time zone, aren't we? And that was our first mistake.
Yes, I know.
And I was waiting.
There in the end, though.
Yeah, we did. And I think that's what's really worked for me because I found someone that I can relate to, something that the Pivo works perfectly for me because it's just not practical for me to go to Dubbo or Orange or these big towns. And plus, I get nervous about driving by myself with all that way with the float, and I've got to come home and still make dinner for children, and it's just not practical. But this is so good. So definitely you have been a great influence for me. And the other lady is a lady called Rose Goff, and she owns Moore Park Stables, and she is the one that found me my horse Ruby. And she taught me so much because I'd had little bits of riding lessons, but she really helped me a lot with my husband. And she's a great horseman, and she writes a show rider, and I really always enjoyed her company, and I miss her a lot. She's in Sydney still, but I really enjoyed her company and learnt a lot from her.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. And yes, thank you for mentioning me.
That's okay.
And I think I seem to kind of attract students who have similar ethos to myself, I guess, and similar energy too, I feel. Because in connecting with you right from the start, I was like, oh, she's got good energy. I really like working with her. So, no, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you as well and your lovely horses. Are you feeling a little stuck or lost with your horse? Are you worried that you'll do the wrong thing by your horse? Are you confused with conflicting advice? Do you feel like you can't keep your horse's focus and attention? Do you wish your horse would look to you for guidance and security? Would you like your time together to be a good experience for both of you? Do you just want to be able to communicate clearly with your horse so you can stop worrying about everything going wrong and actually start to enjoy yourself and achieve your horse dreams? Well, I have the perfect solution for you. Introducing Horsemanship Fundamentals Academy, also known as HFA for short. Inside of HFA, I teach you how to create the partnership you've always dreamed of, how to understand and connect with your horse, show your horse how to understand you on the ground and in the saddle, build confidence and relaxation in yourself and your horse, and implement the essential foundation for a willing, calm, trusting, and happy riding partner, no matter what your discipline is. When you sign up, you get access to an online platform where all the HFA content is hosted, and this is accessible on desktop or mobile devices. The Academy platform has 8 fundamental modules, and each module has mindset audios to overcome common roadblocks, theory videos so you can deeply understand the what, how, and why, and practical videos with various horses so you can see horse training in action. Each module builds on the previous, and we cover everything you need to know for groundwork, riding preparation, and riding. You also get access to a members-only Facebook group to connect with and receive support from other like-minded horse riders, and you can ask questions in the group anytime. Horsemanship Fundamentals Academy is the ultimate blend of practical horsemanship knowledge and skills, mindset, support, and positivity you need to succeed with your horse. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably my kind of equestrian, a heart-centered horse person who wants the best for their horse and is committed to making their horse dreams a reality. If that sounds like you, I would love to have you inside the Academy and support you on your horsemanship journey. If you want to find out more and sign up, just head to amaliadempsey.com and click on Academy. If you could have dinner with any 3 horse people, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, this is my favorite question that you ask. I love hearing about other people. Do you know what would be fun? I was just going to say this on a side note. Wouldn't it be fun if you got every single person that you have had on your podcast in one room? Wouldn't that be a great party?
That would actually. Yes. So many heated conversations.
Oh my gosh, it would be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Stacey Westfall, I love watching her ride, and I love she's really good at setting goals and things like that. Yvette from Featherlight Horsemanship, I think she'd be really interesting. And Mark Rashid, which I read all his books, and even the old man, I don't think he'd give you much information.
No.
But he'd sit and watch you and let you know where you're wrong. So I would love all those people in a room. I think that would be awesome.
I really like your answer to that one, and 3 people that I would love to meet as well. But particularly Mark Rashid and the old man. For those who don't know about the old man, read the Mark Rashid books, because he talks about this old man who sort of mentored him growing up with horses. And yeah, he would sort of set up situations where he wouldn't necessarily tell Mark what to do, but he would kind of plant the seed in his head. And I think you're right. I think he would do that at the dinner as well. Like, oh, is that how you're doing things? You know? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've got a real interest in I even tried to Google him a bit to see if there was any history on him. You know, I was really interested in that. And I think he would have been a great person to learn a lot of great lessons from.
I think, are you talking about the old man or Mark? Or
the old man. Yeah, and Mark. Yeah, the old man. The way he spoke to Mark as a teenage boy, he just got it, which was great.
Yeah. And I think Mark mentioned somewhere that he wasn't 100% sure what the old man's name was, but maybe Walter, Walter Pruitt.
Yeah, I think Walter Pruitt. Yeah.
But he wasn't 100% sure.
No.
And yeah, I just think it's fascinating. This old man, there's so much mystery around him, and it'd be really cool to know for sure whether it was him and what his background was. But I suppose we'll never know.
We'll never know. No. And it was really sad in one of those books when he did see him that one last time when he was grown up.
I cried.
I did too.
Yeah, I was in the car listening and I had to pull over because my eyes were so teary.
Oh, no. I said you should go back and get him.
I know.
Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah.
I really hope to have Mark on the podcast one day. So that
would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. On another note, what has been your best horse-related purchase in the last 12 months?
Oh, it is so basic, but my rope halter. It's not fancy, but it is so versatile. I can use it as a lead rope, obviously, and my rope halter and my lead rope.
Yeah.
It's reins. It's my bridle. It catches. And I've got lots of rope holders, but I've just got this one that's my favorite, and I can put it on the ponies if I need to catch them. It's in the car. I just have it with me. I have it at the house if I need, because the horse's paddock is 25 acres and it goes along the house. So if the horses are near me, I was like, oh, I'll catch you. So I bring it everywhere, and it's not fancy. I think it costs $25.
Yeah.
But I couldn't live without it. Just the little tack shop. There's a it's called Sprayer Barn, and they sell chemicals and motorbikes and things. And then a little tiny horse area. It's got it there, and I couldn't live without it. So I've got a beautiful saddle, and I've got beautiful bridles, and they're all very beautiful. But I couldn't live without my rope halter. So
that's true.
And keep it simple, and that's what I've found too with as I've progressed and improved. Keeping everything simple. I don't put boots on. Sometimes I do if I feel like being fancy.
Yeah.
I don't. I've even taken the noseband off, and because I'm got to be time efficient, I'll just have the rope halter on with the bridle over the top. But it's just got to be. I've got to just be able to pick up my saddle and my saddle cloth and just get going, and keeping it simple. And if I can just get on bareback with a rope halter, how good's life? That's easy.
So easy. And I love that. I think often as adults in general and horse people, we can complicate things, like we make things difficult for ourselves. And often those things that are difficult, actually the horse doesn't want or need anyway, like mucking out stables. Well, we could just leave them out in the paddock, like putting boots or bandages on. Do they really need it for what we're doing? If we're not jumping or going through heavy scrub or whatever, do they really need boots on? So I have found the same. I like to simplify things as much as possible just to make my life easier, but also my horse's life. So love that. And yes, halter and lead rope, we couldn't really do what we do without that. So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And do you have any favorite horse books, podcasts, or resources?
Oh, I do. Well, like you, Amalia, I have got my vice is collecting horse books.
Yes.
I'm always looking on eBay for vintage horse books, anything. I've still got all my horse books from when I was little, and I used to love calligraphy when I was, 10, and they were calligraphy with my name in them. But it was, pause, I need to find the book because I always get the name wrong. Is it The Horses Don't Lie?
The Mark Rashid one?
Yeah, Horses Never Lie. So that's
Horses Never Lie, yes.
Yeah, so I read that years ago, and I thought it just was the turning point for me to back me up on what I knew I believed, but what I was seeing wasn't what I liked seeing, where I was at. And I thought, I'm not the only person that thinks like this. And then we got addicted to all his books, and I've got them on audio. I've got hard copies. I've got everything. And I love re-listening to them all. I won't listen to them for a while, and then I'm like, I'll listen to that again. And I think I've read Horses Don't Lie 3 times or 4 times. Just love it. Or just quickly have it open the book and a reader section, because there's so many great little snippets in there that you miss. And I think that's the basis of like my philosophy. They don't lie. They don't wake up in the morning and say, well, I'm going to buck you off today and you are going to go flying. And they're giggling together. They don't. They just don't.
They're so in the moment. And yeah, I'm a big Mark fan as well. We're back on the Mark Rashid topic.
I know.
And I'm the same as you. I'll re-listen to the books every year. I don't have the hard copies though. Now I want to get the hard copies.
You got to get the whole set.
That's it. And I feel like everyone who's read all the Mark Rashid books has a favorite. I love that yours is Horses Never Lie. Mine is Whole Heart, Whole Horse.
Oh, I love that one too so much.
But
that's how I read that, and I thought, Patch, I feel like he looks deeper into my, they all love me, but I feel like with Patch, he might be my heart horse. And Gally's definitely my heart horse, but there's Patch here. I can tell he's giving himself to me, and same sort of thing as like that black mare that he rode at the end. Oh, we won't ruin it for the people that haven't read it.
No.
Oh gosh, it's so good, you'll cry.
I know. So if you're listening and you haven't read these books, definitely go down and get on it, because they're amazing, and they do. And you go.
Happy to start a discussion, a book club on our Instagram about them if anyone wants, because I love chatting about horse books.
I know, me too. You can see the bookcase behind me. I've got a lot, and I've got a lot in Kindle version and audio version as well. Oh, but yes, absolutely love horse books. Can you tell us, Meg, what is your ultimate goal with horses?
Well, I love this question as well, because before I have had this shift in change, my changing and the way I've grown, I always thought that I had to prove to everybody that I was a great rider by going out to a dressage competition. So my mission was to just go out and do a dressage test and go jumping again. And I was like, I needed to do that to prove to everybody that I could do this. But, since I've changed, I actually don't care if I don't compete at all or get to a dressage competition. I just want to be with my horses. I just want to ride them, on a loose rein. What I'd really love is my ultimate goal, and I'll tell my husband this when the kids are at boarding school. I want to go on a holiday with the horses. I want to get a truck and I want to load up the horses and the dogs. And my husband's like, really? Yep, we're going to do it. He likes bird watching. He can go bird watching and I'll ride. And I'd love to go to the beach with them and pack up and go. But we've got a while before that. The children still need me.
That sounds amazing though. Like, I think that would be an awesome trip, and almost it would be kind of nostalgic because you used to do those horse camps a while ago when you had your horse in Sydney and would go off on the weekend. So that would be cool. And I know, and it's
when you go to horse shows, like I loved hanging out with them for a weekend, and we'd go to an event, like do a one-day event. And I loved actually sitting at the horse float with them, and I'd feed them my muesli bars or something, and Ruby and I just hang out, and I love just hanging out with them. So if we could hang out on a beach, that would be really nice.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I'm the same as you. When I used to compete quite a bit, we'd go away because you'd have to camp because it was a few hours away or whatever. And I really did just enjoy being with my horse for that length of time, and like camping in a tent, and his yard was right next to me, and just, I don't know, you do bond with your horse when you spend a lot of time with them. So and I have been on horsemanship type camps as well, and they're just magical. So
I'd like to do that sort of thing as well. So my shift in, I'd still love to do a dressage, but I think a dressage test, I've decided I'm going to do them. There's online dressage tests.
Yes.
So I've signed up for one of those, and I think I'm going to try and do that next month. We've been practicing that. Amazing. And I think that's all I want to do. I don't need to travel 200 kilometers to get to a major town to do a dressage. I can just do it in my yard. So yeah.
And I like how you change your perspective in that, even though you still want to do a dressage test, you're not doing it to prove to others that you can. You're doing it for yourself and for your own horse and for your own goals.
Yeah.
Now, just before we wrap up, can you tell us what is the one message you would like all horse people to know and people listening to this podcast from today's chat?
I really think believe in yourself, because you probably deep down you can do it, but there's that little fairy, I guess, that's in the top of your brain going, no, you can't. Yeah, you can't do that. And I think you've got to you'll know when the time's right. I couldn't have done this when the kids were really little and in daycare, and when it would have been beautiful if I could have done this in my early 30s, but I'm doing it in my 40s and getting being a better horseman and doing all the things I love. But it's the right time for me. I believe in myself. It's the right time, and you can't rush things. So if you can't make things happen, and I think the universe has got a plan for you, and it's not always what you think it's going to be, but I think you've got to be patient and almost go with it a bit, and you can manipulate it a little bit, but I think you've got to wait for your time. Well, you'll know when the time's right, and if you believe in yourself, you can achieve anything you want to achieve.
That is so beautiful, Meg. I'm sitting here thinking, like, who's coaching who here? So inspirational. I love that. And I think your story is just so relatable. I think you've got some beautiful messages that you shared with us today. So thank you again for coming onto the podcast. And I'm sure I'll see you soon again in a PBO lesson or something. Maybe we should do one before your online dressage test.
Yes. Oh, yes. I would love to do that. And it's just for my own self, because for fun.
Yeah.
There's no pressure.
No pressure whatsoever. Love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Great. Thank you, Amalia. Thank you for everything you've done. You know, I'm very appreciative of your time.
Thanks for listening to the Horsemanship Breakthroughs podcast. Make sure you hit the follow button so you get notified every time a new episode is released. And if you've learned even just one small thing from today's show, I would really appreciate if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or screenshot this episode and share it on social media. You can connect with me on Instagram at Amalia_horses or my website amaliadempsey.com, where you can find free resources to help you on your horsemanship journey. That's all for today. Thanks for being here. Remember to train with kindness and ride with excellence, and I'll see you in the next episode.